Hello and welcome to highlights of the 1993 Japanese Grand Prix, brought to you by Mircoprose and GP2Joey. We're in the Far East this weekend for the 15th and penultimate round of this dramatic season, where F1 makes its annual pilgrimage to the unique figure-of-8 Suzuka circuit near the city of Nagoya. Ferrari's Gerhard Berger was the winner last time out in America, after Jean Alesi suffered a heartbreaking failure in his Ligier Prost-Renault whilst leading 2 laps from the end. This also after early leader and teammate Alain Prost had also retired from the lead, and championship rivals Brits Davies and Damon Hill took themselves out of the running after a clash seconds after the start. It all means that with only 2 races left, Ayrton Senna still leads the Drivers' Championship despite missing the race in America, and the Brazilian is also absent this weekend following his near fatal crash last month in the Italian Grand Prix. Prost's failure to score at Watkins Glen means he can no longer win the title, and this race will be a crucial one for the 2 Brits Davies and Hill, as anything less than a 4th place finish will see them eliminated from the Drivers' Championship battle. Williams have already sewn up the Constructors' Championship, but the fights continue elsewhere as Ligier Prost look to make up ground to Ferrari in 2nd, and Benetton look to close the gap in 4th. And defending champions McLaren are holding firm against the impressive Sauber team in the battle over 5th place. The month between the American and Japanese race was relatively quiet in terms of news, but undoubtedly the biggest to break was the untimely demise of Andrea Moda, who after 2 years of struggle and strife were forced to call it a day with debts of over £10 million. Ford then confirmed they would supply customer V8 engines to both Minardi and F1's newest team, Bravo, who then confirmed their 1994 driver lineup would be owner Adrian Campos and fellow Spaniard Jordi Genet. In the wake of his 2nd place finish at home in Watkins Glen last time out, IndyCar star Alain Jr. was then offered a rumoured £3 million 2-year deal to join Brabham for next year, providing he wants the deal and can free himself from the agreement he'd signed already to join Roger Penske's outfit in the States. It was then confirmed on the eve of Suzuka that Minardi had signed Italian veteran Michele Alboreto to partner Pierluigi Martini, who they had re-signed for another season. Friday morning's 30-minute pre-qualifying session was electric, as the 10 drivers fought to find the best setup they could to try and help their respective teams get to the top 3 fastest average lap times. But in the end, it was the Brabham of Cor Ursa who ran out the fastest, ahead of teammate Mark Blundell and the impressive LaRousse of Eric Bernard. For the Yamaha-powered Zaxpeed team, it was a mediocre session, but they managed to scrape through by the skin of their teeth to qualifying proper behind both teams, whilst BMS Dallara and Pacific unfortunately were eliminated, with the former surely yet to make a change for Adelaide and replace Roland Ratzenberger, who has performed dismally this year and very much hindered the scope to prove the talent of his highly rated teammate Mika Salo. With an early threat of rain, the big names took to the track quickly in Friday afternoon's first qualifying session. But 17 minutes into it, the red flags were out after Blundell inexplicably spun off at 150 mph and smashed his Brabham into the outside wall. Thankfully, the Briton was relatively unhurt, and when the session resumed some 30 minutes later, it was Prost who led the way, followed by Benetton's Michael Schumacher, who was looking to recoup some of his reputation following his incredible failure to qualify last time out in America. For championship contender Davis, it was a difficult session as the Ferrari stars struggled to find grip before pushing too far into the first turn and crashing out towards the end of the hour. It all meant that Senna's replacement, the impressive Unser Jr., claimed provisional pole after a quite superb lap in the Williams Renault, with Prost and Schumacher ultimately taking 2nd and 3rd, with Hill a somewhat lacklustre 4th, ahead of Berger and Alesi, whilst Heinz-Harald Frentzen impressed again in the Tyrrell on his way to 7th quickest, whilst a frustrated Davis was only 10th. With hotter temperatures for Saturday's final qualifying session, most of the drivers had to really push the limits of their cars to find more lap time. And it has to be said that watching Frentzen run right around the 3-mile track, complete with an updated Mugen Honda engine, was a delight. For Davis, there were yet more excursions, and although the Briton improved enough to take third fastest in the session, at the end, behind Unser Jr. and Prost, who was quickest, no one was able to better the Americans' effort from the previous day, and so it was that Unser Jr. claimed his maiden pole in only his third career start, with Schumacher ending up fourth ahead of Hill, Berger and Alesi in seventh, with Fri&Sat a brilliant eighth. Afterwards, Unser Jr. rejoiced and admitted getting the pole had been a surprise, as he had expected his rivals to improve overnight. Prost confirmed his sole focus was on getting the win he felt he'd cruelly lost in America. Davis then said he would be aiming to take the win and the 10 points for himself and keep his championship chances alive for Adelaide, whilst the deflated Hill declared his chances were pretty remote at staying in the hunt for himself. F1 ringmaster Bernie Ecclestone then admitted Unser Jr.'s speed had impressed him enough to deserve a seat on the grid in 1994, and he was then spotted talking to McLaren boss Ron Dennis in the paddock, fueling rumours that Martin Brundle's deal with the team might not be as watertight as he perhaps thought when he first signed the deal for next year back at Monza. So it's Unser Jr. and Prost on the front row, with Davis and Michael Schumacher on row 2. Row 3 is Damon, Hill and Gerhard Berger. Row 4 is Jean Alesi and Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Row 5 is Martin Brundle and JJ Leto. Row 6 is Michael Andretti and Carl Wendlinger. Row 7 is Mika Hakkinen and Derek Warwick. Row 8 is Johnny Herbert and Naguri Suzuki. Row 9 is Satoru Nakajima and Rubens Barrichello. Row 10 is Mark Blundell and Eric Bernard. Row 11 is Eddie Irvine and Christian Fittipaldi. Row 12 is Alessandro Zanardi and Philippe Alliot, and at the back it's Pierluigi Martini and Cor Ursa. It's a beautiful clear day as we get ready for the start of 53 laps at Suzuka, as the red lights come on, and it's go! It's a good start from Unser Jr., but Davis drops into fourth position with Prost in second, and Schumacher's on the inside on the run down to the first turn. But it's Unser Jr. who leads into the first corner with Prost in second, and Davis goes round the outside of Schumacher. Fantastic stuff! Davis recaptures third place away from the German, who slips down into fourth place in the peloton, with Jean Alesi fifth. It's Gerhard Berger in sixth. Damon Hill is trapped down in seventh place. Brundle is eighth, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen is ninth, with the Sauber behind him. As they come thundering up through towards Degner for the first time, Davis is coming under pressure from Schumacher.
Yes, Davis very much looking to try and maintain that third place there, but he looked like he ran a little bit wide there, and that's going to give Schumacher the opportunity to try and pounce through into the Shellor's hairpin, but Davis has got the inside covered.
Fantastic defensive driving from Davis. He manages to hold off Schumacher, but that's allowed Prost and Unser Jr. to pull away, which is not the start that Davis would have wanted, as Schumacher looks like he's now coming under pressure from Jean Alesi and the Ligier.
Yes, but back up front, it's Unser Jr. now. It was gap out to Alain Prost, who almost 1 second, with Davis now 3.1 seconds behind. So that's quite a bit of time for the Briton to make up there. But there's 52 and a half laps to go yet of this Grand Prix, and there's plenty of time for Davis to try and get the win that he so desperately wants to get under his belt this weekend.
But as Unser Jr. comes through into the chicane for the first time, it looks as though Damon Hill is still trying to get him to find a way past Alesi, and Frentzen is still in ninth place as the race leaders come thundering down the hill to complete the first lap. And it's Unser Jr. ahead, and he's got a lead of 1 second, and Davis is 3 seconds further back. Fantastic opening lap from the Ayrton Senna substitute Alain Jr., who got a career first pole position yesterday, albeit it was set on Friday, with his phenomenal lap time. And let's have a look at the start from Davis in car.
Yes, top three all made very good getaways there, but arguably it was Unser Jr. who got off to the best one of them, with Prost looking to get through on the inside. Davis just being a little bit cautious there, spotted that Schumacher had left the door open on the outside line, so Davis just swept past him. Fantastic route taking of that third position. And here's the replay. See what happened at Degner 2. You can see that Davis, just as I suspected, he ran wide, got a little bit of understeer, had to defend the inside line into the hairpin, and he almost outbrakes himself there, forcing Schumacher to back off so that the German didn't run into him. Fantastic opening lap for both drivers. And back up front on lap 4. Unser Jr.'s got the lead out to 2.2 seconds, and look at this! This is Davis on Prost, and he pulls out alongside, and he's through! So Davis is already up into second place behind Unser Jr., and he's going to be trying to maintain that position ahead of Prost as we see Brundle and Damon Hill battling. But further back it's the Benetton and the Jordan of Rubens Barrichello, who's got Christian Fittipaldi all over the gearbox of the Jordan. Yes, it's going to be interesting to see what happens all the way through the racing here, because we very much suspect that this is going to be a one-stop race here, and most of the drivers will be looking to look after their tyres for the majority of the race.
And Andretti's going to try and make the move on Frentzen to the first turn, but the German just cuts him off quite brilliantly. Fantastic defensive driving from Frentzen to keep the American behind him, and that's Martini out.
Yes, that's quite unsurprising there. Pierluigi Martini with yet another retirement at the Minardi in what has been a quite appalling year for the team.
But back up front, it's Martin Brundle. He's still trapped behind Damon Hill on lap 9. He can't find a way through. But look at the front. Davis is only half a second behind Unser Jr. as they climb up the hill now towards the daunting 130R. Is Davis close enough to be able to get the toe to outbrake the American into the chicane?
Well, it's going to be a shame that we're not going to see that, because we're looking at Brundle and Damon Hill once more. But Davis is still behind the American, and let's see if Brundle can go through on the inside as he pulls out. And yet again we've cut away. So unsurprisingly, there's the TV director doesn't know which way to turn, but Frentzen loses out there, and Davis is still trapped behind Unser Jr. back up front.
And that's Blundell's spin! Blundell spinning in the Brabham. He had an awful accident on Friday qualifying, and this is his teammate Ursa, and that's the second Brabham off. My goodness me.
Yes, both Brabham drivers there seem to be a little bit bereft of talent there, with Unser Jr. still only 0.2 of a second now ahead of Joey Davis at the front. So this is the battle that we really want to see, Mr. TV Director. Please, let's cut away from the onboard shot of Unser Jr. and let's see exactly how far away from him that 27 Ferrari is there.
But that's Alesi out. Jean Alesi out. Yet again another retirement for the Frenchman. What a disastrous season he's having.
Yes, it's quite unbelievable. He should have won the Grand Prix last time out in America. 2 laps from the end his car fails, and thankfully this time only on lap 13 his car fails again, and I'm sure that he cannot wait for this season to get over with. But Joey Davis has passed Alonso Jr. there, unseen to us. It's Davis ahead. He's now into the lead. Fantastic stuff.
And Davis is now, he's at 0.6 of a second ahead as we see Vendigan running wide. He's running wide there with Schumacher. Is that Schumacher behind him? That's Brundle behind him. And Alain Prost is through the final chicane, desperately trying to close the gap. But Davis has to come into the pits.
Yes, we're thinking that Joey Davis has had to come into the pits. He's had some sort of a problem with the engine there, it looks like. We think that Joey Davis has had to come into the pits, and he has, so Davis is into the pits.
Sensation at Suzuka. That's got to be an unplanned stop for the Briton. He was in the lead, and look at him. He's dropping down.
Yes, he's down into 10th place now, and he's back out on lap 18. He's out of the pits, and we're not sure what's absolutely happened there, but he obviously had some sort of an error as Damon Hill comes through.
Damon Hill goes through the 130R, and he's off. He tries to pass the Brabham and Ursa, and he spin. He loses the back, and that's Brundle in 5th. Brundle missed his braking point, trying to get past the back marker. So Damon Hill comes off, and Brundle comes off. Fantastic stuff. What drama in Suzuka. And that's Barrichello off.
My goodness me, they're all going off at 130R or at the chicane. Rubens Barrichello there with his teammate Eddie Irvine just coming out of the fast corner. But it's Alain Prost in 2nd place. My goodness me, that's Carl Vendinger. He's had a big off at 130R there as Gerhard Berger goes through. Well, thankfully the Austrian looks like he's out of the car already, so that's a quick ejection for him. But my goodness me, that was some sort of a nasty accident there. And let's hope that we get a replay of that as Davis comes through the 130R and he's back up into 4th position. And he is absolutely flying. Davis goes into the final chicane and he's already broken the lap record. Fantastic stuff. It's a 1:37 in the Ferrari. Can he go even faster? He's on fresher rubber.
as Unser Junior negotiates his way past one of the Lotuses and he comes through. And it very much looks as though all the top runners now are going to be making their first tyre stops, except for Davis, because his teammate Berger's already into the pits as we ride on board with Heinz-Harald Frentzen in 6th place.
Yes, Heinz-Harald Frentzen very much impressing again in the Tyrrell, and they're obviously running the updated Mugen Honda engine, which they've been told by the Mugen Honda people will give them greater acceleration and greater reliability, as Warwick manages to hold off one of those McLarens, and Unser Junior's into the pits, and Prost is into the pits. So Alain Prost comes into the pits, and Unser Junior, and I can't help but think, as Davis absolutely flat chat through 130R there, how on earth he managed to keep position, and he outbreaks himself into the chicane. He is absolutely on it, pedal to the metal, as he comes down the hill. But where's Unser Junior? And where's Prost? Is Davis going to take the lead? He can't. That's one of them ahead of him. And I think that was Unser Junior. Yes, Davis, he's absolutely flying. My goodness me, he's ahead of Alain Prost. But he's still behind Unser Junior. But he is going to be making inroads into the American. The American is on stone-cold tyres compared to the Briton, whose tyres are at least 10 laps older. And he's absolutely full of grip as Frentzen comes into the pits. And Davis is already closing the gap. Is he going to be able to catch him into Degner? Davis is flat out. Unser Junior's into Degner 1. He's into Degner 2. And Davis is closing. Fantastic, the gap. It's only half a second with Prost in third, 3.1 seconds behind. And there's Martin Brundle. So Brundle making a good recovery as he looks to get past Suzuki's footwork there, and he goes through an Andretti, and that's JJ Leto in the Sauber. And the two McLarens and the Saubers have been absolutely locked together for the past 7 races or so, and their battle in the Constructors' Championship is an enthralling one, albeit not for the top spots, but it's still a great battle between the two teams as Brundle comes into the pits again. And Brundle's into the pits, but Davis, he's now in the lead. He's taken the lead from Unser Junior again, unseen by us. Yes, I suspected that was going into the spoon curve there, and Davis just looking in his rearview mirrors just to make sure that Unser Junior wasn't going to try and mount another attack. But Davis is into the lead. Fantastic recovery drive from the Briton. He dropped down to 10th place, let's not forget, only 10 laps ago or so. And he's already back into the lead. But I'm pretty sure as he goes through into the first corner and he's behind one of the Benettons, what's happened there? There's no contact. That looks like Martin. That was Michael Schumacher. I think that... No, that was Martin Brundle. Brundle was coming into the pits, so we know that was Brundle and not Schumacher because Schumacher's in 4th. But that's Unser Junior spinning. He's up. He's in the gravel and he's out. Unser Junior, my goodness me. He crashes out. I'm not sure what happened there, but maybe he had some sort of a technical failure. Well, I very much doubt that he ran out of talent there. I'm not sure what happened. Hopefully we'll get to find out towards the end of the race. But that's a disaster for Alain Junior after his fantastic performance in America and taking his pole position here. He was very much hoping that he was going to be in with a shout of winning the race. But let's not forget now, with 23 laps to go, that there's no doubt that Davis, his tyres will be wearing out now by quite colossal amounts as Mika Häkkinen retires in the McLaren. So smoke billowing out of that Chevrolet engine, and Häkkinen's poor 1993 season has come to an end with one race to go as Davis is into the pits for his final tyre stop. It's 9.8 seconds, but he's going to lose the lead. Alain Prost is going to go through. But where is Prost? This is what we want to see, is across the line. As it confirms that Häkkinen is out, Prost is down the line, but Davis is still in the lead. He is! His inlap must have been something spectacular, but he's got new tyres, and Prost has got to try and find a way through, because if he doesn't, Davis is just going to pull well clear of him, and Schumacher with Gerhard Berger in 4th, and Berger's into the pits. So Gerhard Berger's making an unscheduled stop, and that's JJ Leto pulling off. So the second Sauber, he's out. That's quite unfortunate there. JJ Leto running very strongly in 7th position. That's going to promote an out-of-form Damon Hill into 7th place, as we see Michael Andretti rounding the hairpin in 6th position. But it's Hill in 7th, it's Warwick in 8th, Nakajima showing very well as his teammate Frentzen, with Suzuki in 10th, it's Eric Bernard in 11th, Martin Brundle recovering relatively well, but he's a lap down in 12th place, with Barrichello in 13th, with Alio 14th, and Zanardi a fine 15th in the Lotus as Alain Prost rounds the second corner, and he's desperately trying to keep pace with Joey Davis on lap 37. But Davis is in a race of his own now. He's pulling well ahead of Alain Prost, with Schumacher 11.3 seconds ahead. And that's a Ferrari, that's Berger stop. So Gerhard Berger, tragedy for the Austrian, he retires from 5th place. Yes, that's quite extraordinary there. And this is Davis and Alain Prost, so Prost has obviously closed the gap. It's 0.2 of a second as they come thundering through the 130R. Is Davis going to go defensive into the chicane? He does. So he blocks the inside line. He outbreaks himself slightly, a little puff of smoke there from the number 27 Ferrari. As he struggles now, is he struggling with grip? With only 7 laps or so to go. He must be struggling for grip. And Schumacher now the gap. It's only 6.9 seconds as Prost. He's 4/10 behind Davis. Davis can't afford to stop again. And he's going to have to try and defend the remainder of this race as Ursa pulls off in the Brabham with smoke billowing out of the back. His Ferrari engine seems to be expired as Schumacher tries to pass. Is that Derek Warwick? No, that's Suzuki. So Schumacher getting balked there by Suzuki in 9th position. But Davis, he's struggling for grip now as we ride on board in that Ferrari now. He's only got 2.5 laps to go and he's really struggling to apply the throttle. He takes the inside defensive line on the exit of Spoon up the hill. He's got quite a lot of grunt in that Ferrari V12 as we see Damon Hill going through the second corner. But we need to see what happens with Alain Prost and Joey Davis into the final chicane. I don't think we're going to see it. Davis seems to be ahead still of his French rival. With Schumacher now, he's righting the mix. He's less than half a second behind. Fantastic stuff. And Schumacher, he's closed the gap. It was 11 seconds, it was 7 seconds. And look at this. On the final lap, it's Davis. And his mirrors are full of the Ligier of Alain Prost. And they are full of the Benetton of Schumacher. Yes, and Davis looks to balk on the inside there into Degner 1. Fantastic defensive driving there. He didn't chop across the Frenchman. Into Degner 2. He's just got to be careful now. He just wants to follow the inside line as we ride on board with Prost. And as I expected, Davis takes the defensive inside line. Just hold them up, Joey. He needs the 10 points in the win to bring down the gap to Senna in the Drivers' Championship and take it through to Adelaide for potentially a final race shootout. And what a victory this would be if he could manage to hold on against Prost. But can he do it? Out of Spoon curve, Prost needs to get on the power. He's right on the power early. Davis struggled with traction as he goes defensive down the hill. On the uphill towards the 130R, Schumacher's just taking a little bit of a breather. He's going to see if anything happens in the chicane as it comes through the 130R for the final time. Surely Davis is going to go for the inside. He does. Prost has a look. But Davis blocks it. A puff of smoke again. He runs wide. He manages to keep the Frenchman behind him. He's just got to power out of the final corner. And he does. And Davis powers out of the hill. Prost looks to attack. But Davis is across the line. It's a fantastic win. He wins by 0.08 of a second ahead of Schumacher in 3rd place. Fantastic drive. It's Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Where's the German? He's going to finish 4th. A quite brilliant race. Full of drama. And there's Frentzen across the line. A fantastic 4th position with Andretti 5th. Brilliant drive from the American. Great recovery. And Damon Hill. Damon Hill is going to take 6th place. And he is out of the championship battle. What a Grand Prix. Sometimes there are races that a driver is just destined to win. And despite all the action, excitement and drama that unfolded at Suzuka, Davis's win now sees the prospect of a title showdown at the last race, incredibly for the 3rd year in a row. Having made one extra stop than the rest, the Ferrari star was sublime in the middle of the race, and with his tyres bereft of grip in the final laps, keeping the likes of Prost and Schumacher behind, was a top draw display in defensive driving. For Prost and Schumacher, this was a race either perhaps should have won, but 2nd and 3rd places were just reward after stellar drives, but unquestionably it was the Tyrrell of Frentzen who impressed the most on his way to a brilliant and well-deserved 4th. Meantime, Andretti deserved his hard-fought 5th in one of McLaren's worst cars in their history, whilst for Hill it was a weekend to forget, his 6th place now meaning he was eliminated from the championship battle.
On the podium, Davies enjoyed the celebrations, and deservedly so, after what was arguably his best win of the year, whilst Prost said his rival's defensive driving in the closing laps was frustrating and a little over the edge at times, and Schumacher moaned that yet another chance to win a race was getting tiresome for the German. After the celebrations, team boss Frank Williams then admitted the chances of Senna being fit enough to return for the Australian finale were unlikely, which prompted Davies to comment that he hoped his friend and rival would race, even declaring that he planned to ring the Brazilian in an attempt to coax him down under. Elsewhere, Prost said it would be great for the sport if the showdown happened between the two, whilst Hill lamented his poor race weekend, wishing both Senna and Davies all the best for the final Grand Prix. So Davies' win sees Senna's lead in the standings cut to a mere 3 points, and with a maximum 10 available, the showdown, if it happens, promises to be a truly mouth-watering one to say the least. For the out-of-form Hill, there remains a strong chance Prost can steal his third place, while Schumacher is firmly locked in to finish fifth. In the Constructors' Championship, Ferrari have now claimed second place behind champions Williams, whilst Ligier Prost themselves have secured third, ahead of a lacklustre Benetton, whilst the battle between McLaren and Sauber over fifth will continue into the final race, with the two separated by only 7 points, and Tyrrell jumping to 8th, courtesy of Frenton's 4th place finish. So after 15 epic races this year, and if Senna does make a miraculous return, we are all set for another fantastic final race shootout to decide the World Championship in Adelaide. But who will prevail? Can Davies claim his second title, or could we just possibly have the remarkable sight of seeing Senna finally win that third championship? But for now, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time for round 16 of the 1993 Formula 1 World Championship and the Australian Grand Prix.